Hello, welcome to Law Master's Lair. I'm your Law Master, here today for another God video. We are starting to spread out, see what we can of deities of other continents, but we saw one still connected to this one. From Gurund, we have a deity whose influence is strong in the broadening expanse. Grandmother Spider. Let's get started. First, as always, where can you find information on Grandmother Spider yourself? First, we have the basic informations in the Gods and Magic books, both 1e and 2e, as well as the Divine Mystery book, and, in this case, the Broadening Expanse book. Cannot forget that last important detail, can we? For a full list of her tricks, we find ourselves looking at the Faiths of Galarian book. Nana Anadi, like her sibling Kakek, was a divine servant who, under the eyes of the gods, helped craft the universe. However, she desired more than to be a tool, making those who ruled the universe look like fools. She stole Asmodeus' keys, a portion of Serena's fire, and eventually led to her own crafting her own freedom. But by this point, she decided to start using her tricks to teach lessons instead of just making others look foolish. Which right away, let us hop into our first side tangent of the day. The part of the show where we look at a clear copy. After all, imitation is the clearest form of flattery. And let me tell you, Anansi is flattered. A spider who appears across different Western African ancestries, heritages, cultures, whatever term you want to use. I said ancestries because it's Pathfinder. And even was brought over to the United States, where he/she is sometimes known as Aunt Nancy. Many comparisons between Anansi and Grandma Spider are one for one, their entire existence being a series of fables. Somewhere they are the winner, somewhere they are all the fool. Many explaining how the earth was shaped, but mostly being focused on teaching of lessons. And, of course, the spider part goes without saying for both of them. Grandmother Spider is said, like her brother, to take the form of a giant arachnid, in this case a spider. However, the form she is most known for is a Mardi woman with multiple arms. Though there's also some talk about an Anadi form, but we'll get more into the Anadis in a second. Since her descent to the material plane, Grandma Spider has been involved in various adventures. Sometimes she outwits others and comes out on top with her cleverness. Sometimes her own hubris causes her own downfall. But even in failure there is lessons, and there is enjoyment in life. Worship of Grandma Spider tends to be less on her and more on the fables she has created. They see her as a teacher rather than someone to worship, and leads to the faithful being as casual as their faith and casual in their faith, as possible, while still counting as believers in a deity. All faithful believe in working hard to achieve one's goals and learning from their failures. Probably the two largest lessons of Anadi's life. I said Anadi. Grandma Spider. I'm going to say Grandma Spider and Nana Anadi back and forth. So anyway, in addition, across Gurund is various mama schools. Schools found across Gurund dedicated to ensuring as many people as possible start learning and scholarship young, and are considered primary first steps to prestigious schools like the Magambia. Which brings us to our second side tangent, the Anadi. The Anadi are spiders of the size of humanoids. However, they are masters of illusion and transmutation magic, which they use to the point where they can appear as regular humanoids or a mix of spider and humanoid. Usually showing one's true form to strangers is considered rude, knowing how not everyone is a fan of spiders. They originate in the deep jungles of the nation of Novacha in southern Gurund, and consider Grandma Spider the patron deity of their people. Priests of the faith tend to lean towards women and those who are elders. The service of one of Nana Anadi's priests include traveling far and wide, spreading the stories of Grandma Spider and keeping one's ears out to learn new ones. They work to support communities always ready to bestow old wisdom on a new generation. But this is never free. One gets what they earn, for good or for ill, and so payment is something Grandma Spider's priests expect. If not, then the priests will make sure such simple lessons are learned the hard way. For most people, a temple to Grandma Spider is avoided as it would invite her attention and hijinks. Even shrines are made and filled with things to keep her interested and busy if she stops by than anything mirroring worship. The one exception is with the Anadi, who weave temples covered in web patterns and are built without windows to allow their patron inside. Which brings us to side tangent 3, the nation of Novichok. In southern Gurund, the nation is known as the largest population of Anadi in southern Gurund. Legends say that Anadi were brought there after Grandmother Spider freed their people from forgotten imprisonment, using dew from her webs to create a trail of light across the night sky. The nation is known for its production of silk, which is much sought after by the Mbake dwarfs. As a deity constantly traveling, she wears her home upon her back, a demi-plane contained within a gourd. Here, home within the web weaving is built just off the side of a cliff, containing all the treasures and books she has gathered over the millennia. Grandmother Spider finds her worship strongest across Gurund, including the modern expanse, the southern lands, the shackles, and more southern nations like Gurund and Novichok. The common holidays worshipped are the first rain, which is celebrated indoors with family, because spiders aren't the biggest fan of rain, and the long walk, a celebration of freedom in Novichok, which is celebrated at the winter solstice, the long night Grandma Spider helped sneak them away from danger. And for holy texts, of course the fables of Grandma Spider stand as hers, the most famous collection being the Anadi's Old Woman Makes the Stars. On to allies, we start with divine servitors. Mr. Lantern is a Divirak who ran into Grandmother Spider while he chased after the sun, afraid of the dark as he was. She painted glowing marks upon his body, and from that day forward, he became a champion of the faithful of Grandmother Spider. And her herald is Javosh the crocodile, who was once a crocodile who tried to eat Grandmother Spider, but agreed that if he did not, he would become a servant. So she tied him up and to pass the deadline that he would agree to, and now is forever bound to her. For relationships with fellow gods, only she and Gazra seem to get along among the older deities, with her tricks burning bridges with other deities, especially with Asmodeus and Serenray. She finds more recent ascended gods fascinating, and the faith would treat the followers of such deities as friends, whether they want to be or not. The sibling relationship between Grandmother Spider and Arkachek is something the latter does not wish to acknowledge, but his assassins targeting her faithful do so cautiously, as not to upset even unspoken leader god. Finally, one strong rival comes in the fellow deity of southern Gurund, Mazluda, as as Grandma Spider sees the nation of Holomog as a challenge, and she continues to try to bring chaos to the nation of order. Which brings to a final side tangent, Mazluda, an imperial lord which has ascended to full godhood. She appears as an enormous serpent with a thick mane full of eggs, though sometimes instead she stands as a Medusa-like woman. During the Age of Darkness, she was able to save millions by organizing them into a country by the name of Holomog, which stands to this day. She ascended beyond her authority of stewardship and loving sacrifice, and now holds authority over community and negotiation for her skills of building her patron nation. As a final note, her largest temple is known as the Temple of the 94, containing shrines to Mazluda and 93 other imperial lords. Which brings us to the end of today's video. A good familiar twist on a real-world deity. Next time we return to Starfinder to explore another notable maverick of near space. See you then.